Hello, my name is Chris Cruz, and this is journal number 2, and the topic today is about culture and gender. So generally when you think about gender, you think about what you were raised upon and what you grew up and what you have believed in and have value in something. And that generally is what culture is. Culture is something that you were brought up upon and you have value in and you were believed to be to have been raised in that type of environment, and that's what culture is technically. And it's meant to be shared. It's not meant to be um, only held within a certain amount of people. And that is something that we as humans have always had a certain back-to-back hand opinion about. You always say culture is meant to be shared, but generally we always shame for a certain amount of culture. And I think that's such a flawed thing that we always misinterpret. Um, I myself am Hispanic. I'm specifically Mexican, and my parents are immigrants. Obviously, we probably have all heard the same story. My parents came from this country for a better future for me, and they go on and on. But I don't take that personal because I think I am no better than anyone else because I know that I am just as fortunate as the many millions of people who have also came to this world and came to this country specifically for a better future, quote unquote. But that also leads on to such bad and negative stereotypes about certain cultures. Um, for example, Hispanics, we always interpreted as being illegal, not having um, green cards, not speaking English, made fun of. We're all short, and but no one ever talks about the benefits. No one talks about how we're always hardworking. We're always working the job that no one really wants to work, and it's not just Hispanics, and this is something that is always brought up for any other culture and any other race. Muslims are always seen as being terrorists, and that is such a unfortunate thing for a certain amount of people because that's such a hateful thing to think about. And that's another form of communication. We take culture as a way of bringing hate and bringing titles to people, and I think that's so wrong because that just isn't fair for that culture. It brings shame for some people, and it brings a sense of devalue and whether someone should continue believing on this culture. And that's damaging. That damages languages, that damages beliefs, that damages a certain group of people. And I think that's unacceptable. And this is something that's always been an issue since the beginning of time. And this helps lead on to my next topic of what I learned from this chapter and what was gender. Generally men have always been seen as the main priority and the ones that bring in the food and bring in the money for the women and the children. And women have always been the shadow of what men were. But nowadays, we see that women are the ones that are kicking butt and working their butts off to make more money. And now men are at home taking care of the kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the society we live in now, and I think we've came such a long way, but I think we still have so much to learn in the future. Because like I said, this is a growing issue, and especially online, I think that it's still an issue and would never be resolved because people have always been raised and brought up in certain different cultures, and that's what brings such differences and hate towards a certain group of people. So unless those things are resolved, I don't think this is an issue that will be fixed. But sexuality is another thing that I also read about this chapter. We have a certain distaste of people of a different sexuality, people who are liking to other men and people who also liking more to women. I think that's something that we need to be more respectable about, because we live in a society where love is love, and liking someone who's your same gender is seen as a shameful thing. And I think that's so hurtful and damaging for those people, because it brings shame for themselves as well, and that leads on to such bigger issues too. But generally, I think my questions are: is there a way, and should there be a way, to help acknowledge those consequences of what these negative mindsets and titles can bring to people, to schools, to workplaces, and how we can better teach those things to people, so we can get rid of those and minimize those types of stereotypes and shameful and hurtful things we think about when it comes to culture and sexuality and gender. And I hope that this video brings a sense of awareness and more transparency and reflection within ourselves, but within our culture as well, to be better. Because like I said, in the day, we are still humans. We all have the same emotions and we have the same blood, and we all die at the end of the day, and that's just something that we don't talk about. But that's my take of this chapter, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.